Well, I'm super depressed. I just did this whole lesson and then After Effects crashed and all hell broke loose. So let's try this again. This is not After Effects. This is Adobe Illustrator. I have a stock icon set that may look familiar because we're going to play with it in class. Um, Spoiler alert, I'm recording this before class because I want to build this so you can see exactly how I did the homework that I show you. So here is an icon set purchased for a previous video we've done in the past. It came from Shutterstock. Shutterstock's got a bunch of stuff like this. So if like, if you want to spend some money to build up some of the set items you have, so you don't have to design things yourself, they'll give you a giant pack like this that you can download from Shutterstock. I don't remember how much this costs, but when you get it, it comes in one layer. It comes as an EPS in one layer, right? But this layer is broken down into a group and another group, and then everything is in this group. I don't expect you guys to learn Illustrator, but in order to utilize these in After Effects, you kind of need to know how to format these to bring them in. If we go to After Effects and I pull up these general icons and I drag them into, let me go over to my project. If I drag them into my project, it'll just drag it in as the EPS apparently. If I bring the EPS into the thing, it's just a flat EPS, right? There's no layers to it. There's nothing. If we hit import and go to file, and we want to import general icons, we can set how we want it to import. So we can do composition retain layer size. That's kind of cool. Let's see what happens there. So it brings it in as a composition, and it also gives us a folder filled with nothing, just this, right? So the reason that is, you would think like, oh, it's all this EPS has all these layers, but it just can't read them, and that's because when they're in these groups and they're not layers technically, they're like a grouped layer. I don't know Illustrator super well, so anybody that does is kind of think I'm a total idiot. But I know the workflow to get it to show up as layers in After Effects. So what we want to do is we want to get all these layers out of this like nested group in here. We want them all to be um, uh, layers like this one, these top level layers, because this is all we're seeing when we bring it in, right? So the goal would be to find which top level group they're all in, which is this one right here. If we arrow down, it has all of them. We want to select this guy, come up here, and we want to do release to layers, sequence. I'm not sure if it's sequence or build. I don't think it matters. We'll do sequence. And now you see they're all layers. It says layer 54, layer 72. So they're in layer form, which is good. We want to select them all, and we want to drag them to the top level above up here. And okay, now we'll get rid of these junk layers down here since there's nothing in these anymore. We'll delete that, right? So now we have a bunch of layers. They're all top level layers, so they're all going to get read, right? So when we save this, rather than saving it as an EPS, I think if you can probably save it as an EPS, but it's best to just save it as an Illustrator file. So if I go to save as, save type as Illustrator file, and then I've already saved it here, so general icons converted, it's fine. So now I have it saved. So when I go into After Effects, if I go to import, here's the one I saved, this Illustrator file. And see how it says AI file? There you go. It's not an EPS, it's an AI, Adobe Illustrator. I can set it to footage, composition, retain, or composition, retain layer size. So let's just set it to composition. We'll see what happens. Hit OK. And then it asks us up here again, exactly the same thing. Do you want footage or composition? So if we do footage, it'll ask us. We can bring in specific layers if we want to. So if I'm working over here and I know layer 23 is the layer I want, or layer 12 or layer 13, there's a mute icon here on level 13. Okay, let's bring in level 13 then. We can select layer 13 and we're good. Now we have this layer. When we bring it down, it's a very small, but it's there, right? If we don't set it to that, let's do file, import this. We'll do footage again. It'll ask us again. If we do merged layers, we're going to get that flat, same exact flat thing we had before. Okay? So merging essentially flattens all of these into one layer, which we don't want. Okay? I'm just going to go through these options just to see what all of these do for you. Okay, we'll do the same thing. Import as footage. Hit OK. We're going to keep this as, if we switch this to composition, It asks us what footage dimensions we want. We can set layer size or document size. If we set it to layer, hit OK. This should bring in all of our layers. It's taking some time. Please don't crash on me again. I don't want to record this a third time. It's going to take a little bit because it's got to crank through. You know, there's 200 layers in this AI file. There's a good chance this might be crashing on me. Nope. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we can see what it did. It started a new comp. So if we go into this comp, it should have all of our layers in it. It should have, okay, so here's all our layers, right? All of our layers broken down. There's 200, so there's a lot of them. Or we have our footage right here, which is awesome. So if we get back, go to our comp, like let's say we know, you can see the icons up here, you know, oh, here's a radio. We like this radio. We'll drag this radio down, which is pretty nice, but it's tiny, right? So if we scale this guy up, it gets disgusting, right? So how do we fix that? There's a switch that we need to toggle. I'm going to hit this to bring it up. We need to make sure we're in the menu with the motion blur and the adjustment layer and the 3D icons. If we click this guy, this is a continuously rasterized button. So that means when it scales it up, it'll read the vector scaled up and then it'll rasterize it to however large the scale. So if I click this, now it's nice and clean, right? We can scale this up infinitely and it'll rasterize whatever size we decide to go with. Pretty sweet, right? So let's say that's how big we wanna go with this. Let me find. There was a cool, like, what layer was that? I think if we go back, there was like oh, these are cool. I like these. I wanna make like a fake edgy production company. I'm trying to find which one it was. It was like a radiation icon. It's like this, but it's completely full with radiation. I pulled it in earlier. Oh yeah, here you go. So this is the one that we want. Which icon is this? Select it. We can see down here 107. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's bring in layer 107. Get out of here. Okay, so here it is. We have it. I'm going to click my continuously rasterize. So when I scale this up, it's infinite. That only works for vector layers. If you bring in like an image or something, it's not going to like add resolution to your image. That's not how it works. So if you can see, my anchor point is not centered here. So let me zoom in, see if I can center that. Just gonna kind of pull this to the middle as close as I can to the middle. We can rotate this to see if it rotates. You can see there's a little wobble there, so it's not exactly in the middle, but it's close enough, I think. Let's see what that looks like. It's close enough. No one's going to notice. Okay, so I've got my anchor point set to the middle, which is nice. Okay, so I've got these icons, right? I can pull them all in. The problem is that I don't have each of these pieces, right? Well, if we wanted to, we could go back to this layer 107. We could dive further down into this to get these path points, right? So there's these compound paths and then these 3 paths. We could do the same thing we did before, select this group, release to layers sequence, and then it'll do the same thing. We'd have to pull them up into this top level layer again. We could do that. That would work. But there's other ways to do it that's a little bit faster. So let's say we want to make an animation with this, and we want to animate these pieces separately. Well, in the past we could select this and draw a mask around these, you know, like we have in the past, and cut out each piece. We could do that. That would work, but there's an even easier way to do it. So if I right-click this, I'm going to rename this radiation icon. I'm going to right-click it, and there's this create shapes from vector layer. Now this is really sweet. This essentially goes and asks Illustrator, how did you build these? How did you build this icon that I'm pulling from? Because it's directly pulling from the information here on layer 17. What did I say? 114, whatever it was. Whatever layer this was, used to be, 107. It's directly pulling this information right here. So we just got to ask it, hey, go grab that. So if I right-click this, go to Create Shapes from Vector Layer, it now adds a shape layer above it. So I'll get rid of my icon. Now we have radiation icon outlines, right? So if we dive down in here, go to contents, we have 5 groups of our shapes here, which is pretty fantastic. So there's a few different ways we could do this. We could go in like group 1 here, and we could, if you see, we can play with this guy individually now, which is pretty great. So we have a few options. To animate this, we could we could keep all these groups in here, and that's fine. We can totally do that. We have transform properties, like for my group 5 here. I have a transform property just for that group. That works. I could animate out of that. But let's say I want to scale that up. If I hit group 5 and hit S, that's just going to bring up my scale for the whole layer. So we lose some of our shortcuts, some of our speed, right? So one way I found to help out is just to copy these into their own shape layers, which you don't have to do by any means. But if I create a new shape layer and I rename this circle outline, and I grab whichever, I think, is this the circle outline? Yeah, I'll grab group 5. If I copy group 5, select it, hit Control C, go to my circle outline, which is just essentially this empty shape layer I have. There's no contents. Paste it in here. If I hide this, you can see that way back in there, it's really small. It copied that. That's because if I hit scale on this is scaled way up. This still isn't. So if I copy the scale, paste it in, now it's down here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to add these groups to their own shape layers so I can animate them. So this is like an inner circle, so I'm going to make a new shape layer. I'm going to rename it inner, oops. I'm going to rename it inner circle. I'm going to copy group 4. I'm going to paste group 4 onto that. We're just going to leave it now. We'll get it all set up later because it's still scaled way down and stuff, so I'm just going to hide it. We'll look at group 3. Group 3 is one of these radiation buttons. So we'll copy group 3, create a new shape layer. We'll do radiate 1, paste it in there. Okay. Do the same thing again. We'll do make a new shape layer. Name this radiate 2. Oops, radiate 2. I will grab group 2, copy it, paste it in there, hide it. We'll show group 1, copy that. So when I make my new shape layer, I'll rename that radiate 3, and I'll paste it in there. Okay, so now we can get rid of our outlines. We're done. So now we have all 3 of these. I scaled this one up. I'll go back down to 100%. So they're all scaled way, way down. If we zoom way in, you can see them really small down here. So I think, did I miss? I may have missed one radiation. That's okay. We'll fix it. So they're really, really tiny, right? Rather than scaling them, I think if we select them all, we can scale them all up, which is fine. So let's scale these. We'll kind of, whoops, we'll grab it, kind of center it up. I'm going to turn on my title so I can see where center is here. Kind of center it over this middle crosshair, because that's how we're going to set our anchor points on all these. It's like, just try to get as close as we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's pretty close. Okay, so you see these anchor points are all way up here. If we grab our thing, I think we have to select them individually. So I'll grab circle outline, drag this guy down, line it up on this crosshair as close as I can. I'll zoom in further. The more precise, the better. Grab inner circle, which is now spelled wrong. There we go. I will grab the anchor point up here, drag it down here again. Close enough. Radiate 2, do the same thing. So we're kind of just prepping this to be animated. So there's a lot of work that goes into this. Oops, radiate 1. Nope, radiate 1. Come on. You have to grab it like right in the middle, apparently. Come on. Am I grabbing the wrong thing? Radiate 1. I don't know what this guy is up there. It's freaking me out. Okay, that works. It's not letting me do radiate 1, which I think may have gotten... I think that's the one that got weird. Yeah, okay, so I need to copy one of these. That's why it's being funky. So we'll do it from here. So take radiate 2. Why are you doing this to me? Hates me. Let's hide these then. Grab radiate 2. Oh my god. Pan behind tool is evil. If I open this up, will that make it easier? If I physically... No, that's going to move it around it. If I zoom way out, I can be a little bit... Like, once I zoom in, that's where it gets less precise. So I guess if I zoom out, it's easier to grab. Which makes absolutely no sense. Close enough, whatever. And I'll go to radiate 3, hide this one, go to radiate 3. Grab my anchor point, toss it in the middle. Of course, it's going to be mean as well. How precise do you have to be to grab this thing? Apparently really precise. Okay, close enough. So I've got all my stuff. I'll unhide it. I need to copy one more of these radiates. So I'm just going to duplicate and I'll rotate it back around. Try to get it as even as possible. That looks good. Okay, so now I need to animate this. I've got it. It's prepped. I got all my pieces. Looks good, right? So let's just do a quick little animation on this. We'll just do a really basic. We're going to have these scale up and probably rotate at the same time. So I'll hit scale. Start a keyframe there. We'll go ahead maybe 20 frames. We will scale it up. We need these to, actually this is going to be our 100%, so this is where we need to end. Let's make an ending keyframe there. Let's scale these down to 0. So we'll scale up. I'm going to copy these, paste them. Paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay, so we're scaling up. We want these to go a little bit further. So we'll go over our 100 spot, and then I'll have them, let me zoom in here a little bit. I'll have them shrink back down. Back up. Then back down, and then I'll have them finish that. So let's see if this works. That was a total guess. Since it's so large, it's harder with math. How does that look? Okay, so it's pretty slow. So if you'll notice, let me loop this so you can see it, how slow this is. There's a little trick to make this faster. So you see this animation just too slow, right? If I select all these and I hit Control and hold it, nope, not Control. If I hit Alt and hold it, I can stretch these out or bring them all back in. You got to select all your keyframes and select the end. If we do the middle, it doesn't work. So if I hit Alt and hold it, I'm not sure what that is on Mac, but it might be Command. Maybe Command and hold it on Mac, and then left click on the ending keyframe. We can stretch these out. If we do it over here, it's going to do the same, right? And actually, we may want to do it over there because if we do this, you can see, well, that might work. We'll stretch it that way, see what that works. So is that a little bit faster? Let me turn my motion blur on my layers. How's that? And those are my dogs. Let me pause this so my dogs don't freak out here on us.